A veteran is
a person who has served in military force,
especially one who has fought in war.
veterans of foreign wars are often seen as a sort of subculture, and those who have fought in foreign wars often feel disconnected from the society due to the nature of the subcultures. Readjustment to civilian life can be hard due to a variety of challenges that veterans face. Personal relationships and communication play a big role in the adjustment process veterans go through.
Subcultures are characterized by a certain set of behaviors, norms, and values. It makes sense that when veterans are back in society, they feel like they belong to a subculture, because soldiers fighting in war have a certain set of behaviors, norms, and values that they must conform to. Readjusting back into the place that they left from can be a very tough process for veterans, especially when they feel like they belong to a subculture.
Finding a job can be difficult for anyone, and veterans face even harder time due to the complex nature of transitioning into the civilian life. They can struggle with finding a job they want, finding opportunities they are qualified for, finding employers that understand their skills and experience, and being able to apply these skills used in the military to a non-military environment.
There are many resources that help veterans re-enter the workforce and help make their occupational transition smoother. These government programs were put in place to help out veterans and potential employers. Certain programs can help employers learn more about the skills veterans have and how these skills can help veterans succeed in the workforce.
Veterans and employers also tend to have communication problems, especially during interviews. To the employers, it can often seem that veterans are speaking a different language. Veterans tend to use military jargon to convey their skills, and employers don't see this as useful, and it often causes more confusion.
Another downfall is that employers often hire veterans based solely on how it looks for their company. This often doesn't work well for the employers or the veteran. Employers can be more successful in hiring veterans if they focus on the veteran's skills and qualifications that make them a good candidate for that job.
Studies show that veterans have skills they need, and employers just feel like veterans aren't prepared to go into the workforce yet. Veterans have a hard time conveying their skills and showing employers that they are ready to have a job. Oftentimes, rejection can lead to added emotional distress and can cause emotional difficulties.
It can be hard for veterans to express their emotions after war. It's difficult for them to communicate their emotions in ways that the people around them can understand. In combat, soldiers numb their emotions because of the environment they are in, and this transitions over into civilian life once they get back from combat. To others, veterans don't seem to be the same person they were when they left. They seem cold and appear to be unattached from others around them. This causes uneasiness with loved ones, and they may start to have negative feelings toward the veteran.
The emotional numbness comes with the transition into civilian life along with other emotional problems, and is not a reflection of the relationships the veteran has. Stress, ongoing health issues, and emotional bursts come with the transition back into civilian life. Combat experiences can have lingering effects which can cause daily stress, and veterans can often have extreme emotional displays and bursts of anger. These emotional difficulties are a result of what happened in combat, and even though they don't reflect the relationships, they can cause social problems for veterans.
Social support can make a huge difference to a veteran's readjustment back into civilian life. Social media can help veterans make contacts, ties, and connections, which can be very important to veterans. Especially when trying to find a job, it's important for veterans to carefully balance their social lives once they get back home through. Too much social activity can add to their anxiety and make them overstimulated. This can cause worsening social and emotional problems and will set back to readjustment periods if veterans start to feel too much anxiety from social situations. They may feel the need to cut themselves off for social engagements altogether. This can cause many relationship problems for veterans.
In order to help veterans transition after war, family members must be supportive and willing to work and focus on the relationships at hand. Relationships that aren't functioning properly can lead to an increase in negative mental health symptoms. Violence, dissolution, and divorce can all stem from negative family relationships. To work on more positive relationships, veterans and their families participate in family therapy sessions. In these sessions, they talk through the things they experienced during combat. intimacy and self-disclosure play a huge role in helping veterans have more positive functioning relationships.
Research also shows that veterans start to miss the personal connections they had with other military members once they return from combat. Aristotle was one of the first people to note that military camaraderie was essential for dealing with emotional strains. Today, there is research to support this, and shows that being a part of a military unit creates a strong bond between military members. Other family members and friends don't have that same bond with veterans once they come home from combat.
Military friendships are some of the strongest bonds formed because military training and the military culture is dependent on the concept of developing reliance on other members. Soldiers rely on each other to get through the stressful times of combat, and not having that relationship when they come home from combat can really have a negative effect on their readjustment in the past. Former unit members were often seen as obstacles during the readjustment process because of the experiences and the emotional ties soldiers have with each other. Today, these ties are being seen as a more positive aspect that can help with support during the transition back into civilian life.
Relationship barriers that veterans carry with them include visible and invisible injuries they have from combat. Putting veterans in the company of other veterans can help them work through these barriers and feel more connected to the society they return to. Talking with other veterans who experience what they experienced makes them feel that they aren't alone. This can help veterans strengthen their relationships with their loved ones who haven't experienced what they have.
During deployment, communication is unique and sometimes very rare. If a soldier does get to contact people back home, it is short and often not in ways that can support more intimate conversations. This kind of communication can have negative effects on the spouse of the soldier. It can take a long time after the veteran returns to work through the communication problems that deployment causes. The frequency, style, and content of the communication in the couples after deployment are very important and contribute to the overall satisfaction of the relationship.
Mutual intimacy and self-disclosure are very important and also can be troublesome, especially for the veteran. Disclosure, however, can be a tricky thing, and often couples have to address the traumatic events the veterans went through during combat. Sharing those events can benefit the veteran, and oftentimes, if they are not shared, can cause physical and mental problems for the veteran. Traumatic events, stories can lead to an increase in the distress in the partner of a veteran.
There are many couples-based treatments that help veterans and their partners work on disclosure. They try to create a shared understanding and focus especially on traumatic events. They caution against sharing traumatic events in great detail because more details cause a greater amount of distress for their partners. Communication is a huge team effort for veterans and their partners.
It often takes the help of a third party for veterans and their loved ones to successfully readjust. Oftentimes, veterans will try to communicate with their thoughts and their feelings to their loved ones, and the problems with translating occur. When misunderstandings happen, especially if it happens often, the veteran may become more unwilling to share later on. This can lead to a vicious cycles of communication and will often lead to more negative relationships within the veteran's life.
In conclusion, remember that readjustment after combat is one of the biggest interpersonal communication obstacles veterans have to overcome.
Relationship dynamics change during and after combat. Communication has so many positive impacts on relationships, and this is especially true for veterans who are readjusting to civilian life.
Next time you come in contact with a veteran, remember that they have been through experiences that we know nothing about.
Opening our minds to this can help with communication barriers and even help to abolish subculture stigma.
Thank a veteran today.